Good evening and welcome to Ubuntu channel. My name is Lawrence, as usual, hosting you on a Mandel on the program dubbed Lifestyle on Ubuntu. Now, today we are looking at one of the prominent diseases that we have in the country, and that is sickle cell anemia, of course. And in simple terms, sickle cell can be said to be a group of disorders in the body that causes red blood cells become mishappen and break down. This means that red blood cells tend to die early, thereby leaving a shortage of healthy blood cells in the body. Now, according to a report by the World Health Organization that was released last year, it shows that 45% of sub-Saharan Africans are actually attempt to be carriers of sickle cell disorder. And to even add injury to the wound, we have the report further says that 2% of the world sickle cell cases in the world are found in Zambia. And now today we look at sickle cell in itself, and of course we have today a guest who is a sickle cell warrior, and that is Namukoko. Now, let me just welcome my guest before I can say much further. Namukoko, welcome to Ubuntu Lifestyle.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you, and we are so excited that you honored our request to be on the program this evening.
Okay, thank you so much, Lawrence. It's also an honor for me to be a guest at this show. Thank you so much.
Now, I think for the viewers out there, let me just make mention and include a disclaimer here that this program is just focused on helping everybody living with sickle cell and those that are taking care of people that are living with sickle cell. Also, it's going to be helpful for those who want to know more about sickle cell, and that's just it. Remember that the guest we have today is not a doctor, and therefore, if you have anything that requires medical attention, please kindly visit your nearest health facility for further diagnosis or further help. And therefore, we start the program with Namukoko. And Namukoko, just kindly just give a brief introduction of yourself and just a brief background as much as you can.
Okay, so I am Namukoko Mutambo. I um, I was born in Jingola and then I moved to Kafue. I'm 28 years old and I knew I was sickle cell anemic when not really new. Like I was told I was sickle cell anemic when I was still young, by my mom. And at that age, I didn't really understand anything and so much and so on. But then I could tell because I was the only one different in the house, and then even the treatment was different from everyone else. Because for me, I always had to be in my warm clothes. My water was separate from everyone else's water, and then also just how I wouldn't be allowed to play outside because I was refused to play outside. Most of the times I'll be indoors. The only time I would be outdoors was when I was going to church or going to school. And so if I needed to see my friends or my friends needed to see me, like they would come to my place and would be playing indoors or the other way. Yeah, and then growing up, it was quite a challenge because after some time, after I started growing up, I started feeling the pain and then also being discriminated and the stigma around. People would call me funny names because I was growing up very slim. And then so people would call me names like a moving coffin, a stick, and all those hateful names and all that. Uh, it was quite, it's been an experience, yeah, but all in all, yeah.
Okay, Namkoko, I'll take you just back a little bit and
Okay.
just find out um, when it comes to family at home, your siblings, your parents, and all that. Um, how did they ever tell you how they received the news from the time they found out that you had sickle cell, and maybe as they grow to learn that you had sickle cell, like how the news came to them, or and how they reacted, how they felt? Have you ever been told such stories?
Okay. I haven't really had to get first-hand information because my biological mother died whilst I was still young. Yeah, so um, I don't really know how their reaction was, like my parents, but well, you could see from because I moved to a new home to my new parents, and you could see from they were caring, and I'm sure they were scared and all that because it's always scary. And I have a sister that has children with sickle cell anemia, so it's been scary. And then I know how she has felt knowing that she has children with sickle cell anemia. So yeah, it's quite challenging and it's quite scary. And I think with me, when my mom knew, I think she was quite scared because in those days it was related to a child born with sickle cell anemia that they would just die at any time. Yes,
Actually, I was going to come to that now since you've mentioned it. I think there is a lot of misconceptions, a lot of myths that surround people that are living with sickle cell anemia. To say, I think some people even go to an extent of putting the maximum age one can attain.
exactly,
And
exactly. Actually, that's okay.
go
Sorry.
on, you can go. You can go on. You can go on.
Actually, that's something that's also affected me because people in the community would always say things like I was going to die. So for me, I think in my ages, in my teen age, I wasn't really so interested about life because
Mhm.
I always knew to say I was going to die at any time. And then, like every time I would go to the hospital, I would be taken to the emergency room and all that. That thought will always come in mind. Like it always used to come in mind to say, okay, I think this is it. Because I grew up, and I think that's something that we should be talking more about. Because I grew up with a fear of knowing to say, okay, I will be dead at any time. Like I will be dead just at any time. And I remember not even loving going to school and not seeing the point of me wanting to achieve anything in life because I thought at the end of the day, it's still just nothing.
Okay. Now let's look at things in this way. Let's look at things in this way. Um,
Mhm.
uh, when people kind of say some of these things, bringing
Yes,
up myths that they have heard from somewhere, because most of these myths have got no scientific evidence. It's just things that people come up with or they heard from somewhere, and some people believe it and all that. Do they walk up to you to tell you some of these things, or you just know that, okay, I think those people there are talking about me? Or maybe someone would be bold enough and say, let me just go and tell what people are what people are talking about.
well, I personally I've been in a situation where someone reaches out to me and tells me to say, uh, I remember in school there's this we had this assignment. I don't know if I can call it that. Yes, we had an assignment, and then so I was excited and all that. I think that was in grade 7. We had grade 6 or 7 somewhere there. We had a science assignment. So I was explaining something to my friend, And then she was she was talking about how she's going to live her life when she grows up and everything like that. So I also had something to say about my future, and then she was like, but my mom told me that people with sickle cell anemia don't live for that long. So, and then also, even in my family, I would hear people just say, well, when they're having their conversations or a situation where they're feeling pity for me, I would hear people mention things like that. So, some other people would tell it to me, and then also I would hear from other people as well. Like, let's say they had a conversation, and then someone tells me, and things like that.
Okay. I'm going to just want us to take just a little bit of a step backwards. We have already started scratching on here and there on the nitty gritties of everything, but we just take one step backwards, and just for a layman to understand,
Okay.
how does one get sickle cell? I know, like I said earlier on, you're not a medical doctor, but obviously,
Yes.
probably you have some know-how, some experience, and you've learned quite a lot because you are someone who has this, and so maybe you can help a layman out there to understand how someone can contract or can have sickle cell anemia.
Okay. So, sickle cell anemia is a gene. Like it, sickle cell anemia disease is a gene, and it's a situation where because when every child is born, we get one gene from the mother and one gene from the father. So I've also had people asking me questions where men get to blame their wives because their children are anemic or something like that. And that's something that people should understand to say it comes from both parents. And if, let's say, if one parent has an abnormal gene and the other one also has an abnormal gene, by that I'm talking about if has been a sickle cell carrier. If one parent is a sickle cell carrier and the other parent is also a sickle cell carrier, they it's it's very much possible. Like the possibilities, the percentage of them having a child with sickle cell anemia is higher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Um, Let me just remind the viewers out watching us live on Facebook, live on Twitter, and also on YouTube that you can get to give a comment right on the platform you're watching us from, and we should be able to get your comment live and direct right here, and we should read it out together with Namukoko so that we can get to know what exactly is going through your mind. And that's what we do on Ubuntu channel every Monday, where we have Ubuntu lifestyle. Now, what are some of the challenges that come along with living with sickle cell anemia, for a person living with sickle cell anemia, also for people that have children or maybe a dependent living with sickle cell anemia? What are some of the challenges that they should expect to find?
As someone might have a sickle cell crisis at any time without knowing when exactly you're going to have a crisis, because sometimes it just comes. So that is one of the challenges that one with sickle cell may have. And also, others get to experience mostly low blood counts because um, the cells die before the actual number of days, like it is in someone who doesn't have a sickle cell anemia. So others get to have low blood levels, and then also just stigma and discrimination around. Yes.
And talking of the stigma, I know we spoke a little bit about it earlier on. Like, are we doing enough when it comes to sensitization to the general public there, the masses out there?
I think we're not doing enough, and that's something that we need to work on. Like we have to let uh, awareness every day. It's not just August that is sickle cell. For me, I've put it that it's not just August that is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. It's just every day, so that the more people know about it, the less there will be stigma and the less there will be discrimination, because people will get to understand and also know to say, okay, sickle cell, yes, sickle cell is a disease that can really be serious. It is a disease that can be serious, but then also people with sickle cell anemia can lead a full life and a happy life. Yes.
And you spoke of a crisis earlier on, and well, let's just delve a little bit into crisis management. I think this is one of the areas that we need to sensitize the masses, because some of these things can happen when you least expect, and sometimes it happens that someone has sickle cell, but when that happens, someone doesn't know what they're supposed to do. So when we come to crisis management, what are the tips you can give someone who is living with a person with sickle cell when they have crisis management? What exactly are things that they're supposed to do?
Okay, so at home, you always make sure you're warm enough, like keep warm every time. Make sure you take enough fluids. I know that people that don't like to take water, but just make sure you at least you take maybe 4 glasses in a day, and then you can incorporate with juices and also tea to keep your body warm. And also you make sure you take at home you can take soups just to keep your body warm, because it starts from the inside. So if you're warm from the inside, then you'll be warm from the outside as well. And also, if a crisis starts whilst you're still at home, try to because I would say this is something that works for me. And like you said, I'm not a doctor, like I'm just advising. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, there have been days where, let's say, I have a crisis and I'm at home. It's not just there and then when I have a crisis that I go to the hospital. So, I would be massaged with warm water, hot water. I don't know, while you warm some water and then you get a towel and you get to massage your whole body with hot water. Yes,
Hmm.
and then also taking the painkillers. But then there are medicines that they give at the hospital, and but that's not my area. Like,
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay,
mhm.
there you have it. Like we said earlier on, kindly leave a comment on whatever platform you're watching us from, so we can also know that you are watching. And already I'm seeing some comments coming in and some questions coming in, which I'm going to take time to read later on in the program. But at this point in time, the program continues, and we still have Namukoko here, helping us understand what it is like living with sickle cell anemia, especially in a Zambian community where we are now. There, one of the Millennium Development Goals is to have everybody educated, and I think from what I've read, I've researched, it's very difficult for people living with anemia to attain education, especially at tertiary level, and though I think you are one of those that have managed to go around it and climb the ladder and managed to graduate. Kindly share with us what you have studied and the challenges that you had going through school.
Okay, I did purchasing and supply at Illinois College, and yes, I had some challenges, and there were days when I was given assignments, and all of a sudden I would get sick. Of course, there are times when I failed. Like I remember in my first year, I I passed some courses, and then I didn't do well in 2 courses. But then just because I just told myself to say, okay, just because I fell, I'm not going to stop. I've always, that has always been my aim in life. Because I know, yes, there are times when I get sick and sometimes when I don't make it there and then. But just believe in yourself and also just have faith. Because yes, the challenges that I had in college was, I don't know if it was because of the change of environment. Like I got sick more often. Yeah, so I remember there's a time I was staying in school and just almost anything would get me sick. So I had to move to a boarding house. While I was at the boarding house, it was better than staying in school. And also, this is Africa, and then this is Zambia, a situation where we're in a boarding house where it's clouded and there are a lot of people. That is not good because people come with um, different things, and then you can easily catch anything. So it was quite challenging because sometimes I remember there's a day I got sick in a boarding house, and
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even get help from any of the ladies that were in the boarding house because others were scared, and that's something that I didn't share with people at school because I didn't want to be bullied or to be looked down on. Yeah, it's
Okay.
only now that I started talking about it like openly.
And talking about it openly, you have, I think I personally took note of you last year in August when you had, was it 5 days of awareness?
Yes.
Exactly. I watched all the 5 videos that you put out on your Facebook profile, enlightening us on sickle cell and all that. And believe you me, that's a period I too took keen interest in sickle cell as it is. And most of the times I hear something about sickle cell, I would go back to your videos and just I think I heard a talk about it on one of these days, and I would browse through and all that until I find, okay, this is what she mentioned and all that. So, by
Okay.
speaking about what exactly are you trying to achieve, and I think there is a question that is coming from Percy Chama, watching us from the UK actually, who is asking, do we have any NGOs that are helping in awareness for this particular disease?
Well, I have seen some NGOs, yes, but myself, what I'm doing about it, I am I want to make sickle cell disease known to everyone, and I want everyone to know to say people with sickle cell anemia shouldn't be looked down upon. They are human just like anyone else, and they have rights just like everyone else has rights. And also, I just want to let people with I want to bring hope to everyone that is living with sickle cell anemia and to parents with children that have sickle cell anemia disease.
I think the issue of parents with children that have sickle cell anemia disease is one particular group that should be of interest for all of us, because I think they are the people that tend to face the discrimination when, especially for the children that are born with it. They are it's the parents that face the discrimination, and sometimes the blame game comes in. Who is to blame and who is to blame and all that. Now,
Yeah.
uh, are we ready for a conversation where we can have some sort of support groups that look after such kinds of parents and trying to be some source of hope for such kinds of parents in the country? Do we have that?
I'm not so sure at the moment because I'm still doing my research. and that was the reason why I did my sickle cell 5 days awareness last year, because I have seen what my parents went through with me, how people would say bad things to them about me. So I thought, okay, if I have grown up to be where I am today, I can bring hope to a parent that maybe is feeling bad because they have a child with sickle cell anemia. And then also, I think you mentioned something about the blame, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Also, the reason why I am doing my awareness is because I want couples before they get married, and because people have to talk about all those things. They have to talk about having children and all that. So before you get married, you have to know your status, if you're a sickle cell carrier or not, so that you know the children that you will be bringing.
The
Yes,
first time I
so
heard of, go on, go on, go on.
yes, because you have to, sometimes children also, like, we don't choose, we're just born into this. So it should start with parents. Parents should get to talk about such things before they decide to get married. This is something that couples should really look into before having children. And I believe the number of children born with sickle cell anemia can really decrease if people took that into consideration and people gave it much thought and just decided to say, okay, before we have children, this should be a main goal. Like, we should look into this before we decide to have children.
So, I was trying to say the first time I heard of people planning to get married, having a conversation on sickle cell was actually last year, I think, at church when we had a health talk, and this is what was being encouraged. And I personally got surprised and bemused. I was like, oh, there should be such kind of a thing. And I'm not
Yes,
the only one, obviously, who didn't know, or maybe there are even more people out there who are not aware of possibilities, because we look at each other, and the main conversation we have these days is HIV and AIDS tests before people get married.
exactly. Yes,
Uh, I learned that also the sickle cell conversation must come in before people get
yes.
married, so that uh, 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 I learned that it is easier to even tell if you are going to have children with sickle cell, or if you have a chance of having a child among your children with sickle cell and all that. And that's just how vital this conversation is. But uh, the information probably is just not out there.
Yes, actually, sickle cell is a serious disease, but there is less information about sickle cell disease. And so much has to be done about awareness. It has to be awareness every day, like I said, because um, a lot of people are suffering from sickle cell disease, and yet, um, again, a lot of people don't know about sickle cell disease and how one can get sickle cell disease.
Okay, there is a question that has come in from Ruben Jerome, who is watching us from Lusaka, and I think the question has just come right from my script, because I was going to ask you this, but anyway, let me just go. Let me just go on. Should we expect you forming an NGO to this cause, so that you can provide more awareness as much as possible, giving a platform for more people to share their stories and experiences and all that.
Actually, that's something that I've been working on.
Mm-hmm. And
Yes,
so,
because
how much time should we give Namukoko to come up with that, and so that we can now start contacting the organization and not the individual Namukoko.
okay, just I'll just say soon. Yes, soon.
Okay, let's talk about the healthcare system in the country. what are the notable achievements that you have noted over the years concerning the healthcare system provided to people living with sickle cell, and which areas do you think we need to improve on?
Okay, I have seen change because quite a number of uh, healthcare providers getting to know more about sickle cell, but I still feel there's more that should be done, like more more teachings, if I should say, lack of a better term. I still feel there's more that should be done because quite alright myself when I was growing up, I experienced a situation where a nurse was talking to the other nurse whilst I was there in the room when they were checking on me because I remember this day I had a very serious pain crisis. So I went to the hospital and then the other nurse thought I was just seeking attention. Like I just wanted this attention because sometimes I don't know how people expect someone with sickle cell anemia to look like. I don't know.
Right.
They were like, but she looks okay. You know, that kind of thing where I think, but she looks okay. And then when she checked my temperature, she was surprised that my temperature was so high. And then that's when she like got a bit serious. And I remember the other nurse was like, if hello abantu baso mankala for a long time, you know, that kind of thing.
Oh.
And yes, that was then. But then after growing up, I haven't experienced such. So I personally feel medical personnel are getting to care a little more than it was before. And I think um, as a country, I think there's an improvement, but not so much, of which I still feel maybe there should be seminars for medical personnel where they just learn about how to handle someone with sickle cell disease. And, you know, also, I've seen people with sickle cell disease that are not slim, so
Hmm.
don't just look at a person and say, okay, no, she looks fine. She looks like, try to listen and let the person tell you how they're feeling. And then from there, don't judge someone. It's not every time when someone says they're not feeling well that they are seeking your attention, or maybe they're trying to pretend, or maybe they're lazy because people with sickle cell disease have been known for being lazy, but no, we're not lazy. We're actually hardworking and strong people. And if we're not feeling well and we tell it to someone, it doesn't mean you just want attention. It is because, yes, we're not feeling well at that moment and we need help.
Interesting. Um, I think I'm going to try and bring the program to a close because I think this is a very broad topic that will need a lot and a lot and a lot of more episodes to exhaust everything. Because what we've done here is probably just scratch here and there, so we can just talk about the basics and all that. But there is more to it, and that probably things that we have talked about here. Uh, I think I'll bring you back again to the issue of our healthcare system. Um, do we always have the required medicines for
No, we
people
don't
living?
always.
Uh,
No,
uh, go on, go on.
we always don't have medication, and that is something that has to be improved on. Cause some anyway, that's an area that has to be worked on, and we need to improve in that area.
And also, do we have? Do we? I think. there is I'm not sure if it's a myth out there, but again, I'll emphasize Namkoko is not a doctor, and she's only giving an opinion of how she looks at things, and sharing from her experiences. I insist on this disclaimer. Therefore, do not take this as professional advice. Rather, take it as an opinion. Now, there is talk out there where they discourage to say, if you go to the hospital and you have sickle cell, they find that you do not have enough blood probably in your body. If they ever offer you a blood transfusion, kindly say no. Have you ever reached in those lines and all?
Well, well, myself, I've never had a blood transfusion, but
Okay.
yes, I know people with sickle cell disease that have received blood, and it has gone well for them. So yes, because sometimes blood can fall to maybe uh 3.0, or and then when it reaches to that level, your blood has to be boosted. So there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with, yes, there's nothing wrong with receiving blood. There's nothing wrong really, especially if your blood level has gone really low. There's nothing wrong with that.
Is there any diet that is maybe encouraged
Yes,
so much for people living with sickle cell?
yes, there is. Personally, myself, I take beetroots most of the time so that my blood should be boosted. I usually just blend it and then add some water and add some other, let's say, some other fruits that I may want just to have that taste. Yes, and then also I make sure I take my water and also take a lot of vegetables, green vegetables. Yes, the katapa, chihuahua, all those vegetables are good for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome. Let me give you this opportunity to just give in some closing remarks and probably emphasize on things that the mindset change that you'd want to see, especially from society towards people living with sickle cell anemia, and also maybe other things that you feel need attention of some authorities of some sort, so we can come to a conclusion of the program this night.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I would love to emphasize on what I would love to emphasize on is to people living with sickle cell disease. I want you to love yourself and believe in yourself. Know that you can do it. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on life. And then to parents, just be you. Love your children and just do the very best that you can do for your children with sickle cell disease. And then um, to when it comes to discrimination and stigmatization, I want people to know to say people with sickle cell disease are not less human. They are human and they're full of love. So just love and just love, love, love. Yeah. Don't look down on anyone because we're all people and we're all love.
All right. I'll be bringing this program to a conclusion, Namkoko. But don't go. We'll meet on the other side. We'll meet backstage, and then let me just thank each and everyone watching us on the Ubuntu channel from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And thank you so much for joining us in the program. Thank you so much for the comments. We've perused through some comments, and I think we've tackled some of the questions, and we appreciate your association as usual. And hopefully next week we have another interesting subject that we look at on Ubuntu lifestyle, and obviously we bring somebody interesting, and as usual, but I can't say someone who is going to be more interesting than Namukoko, because I've had a wonderful show, and I've really learned quite a lot, heard quite a lot from you, and also hoping that the viewers out there have picked one or two things from the discussion that we've had with Namukoko, and hopefully you understand that everybody here at Ubuntu channel says no to discrimination of any form. Good night.